So moving on, let's go to item number 9 on the agenda. It says Executive Director Report. So, Director.
Okay, good. All right. Well, I'm going to make my report brief because I think my staff wants to talk to the board today. What I mean by that for the board is that today this has been my February, March, third board meeting, and so we report on our stats monthly. And so since I've been here, I was speaking with the staff, specifically the directors and the managers, our senior level managers, regarding the stats that are provided to the board. So what my communication to the staff is, you explain your information to the board and you answer the questions to the board, which then allows you to understand the board's concern firsthand if there is any concern. But it also allows the staff to be able to educate the board in their own verbiage instead of me third party explaining. Everybody here, has a job to do that we should be aware of and should know our craft. So the staff will go into the various consent items. So because of that, my report will be short, so that they can spend time explaining those items. So a couple things that I do want to kind of do mine in reverse. I always like to make sure that we recognize staff members that have I like to say gone up and beyond, or demonstrated and shown a real willingness to do their jobs efficiently, effectively, and show some caring and compassion, about their jobs. So the first person I would like to recognize, and I don't know if he's on the phone at this time, but I would like to recognize Mr. George Anderson.
Yeah, yay! Yeah, George. Yes, yay!
Yeah, I got a clap on that one. Look, George.
Yes.
Yeah, I would like to recognize Mr. Anderson, and I'll just share a quick 10-second story, which says it all. Maybe about a few weeks ago, I was telling the staff that, hey, curb appeal is important. Well, I came in one day, and I saw Mr. Anderson on his hands and knees out front, getting the weeds out of the cracks of the sidewalk with a little hand shovel. And I said, now, Mr. Anderson, we got to have better tools than that to help you do your job. He ain't want no better tools. He wanted to get on his hands and knees. He said, Mr. Cooper, you said curb appeal is important. You don't want no weeds in these sidewalks. And that's what he said. And when I seen that, it just dawned on me, like, man, if all of us, including myself, is that dedicated, how much better will we be? So in a nutshell, I just wanted to say that I recognize Mr. Anderson. Ms. Sutton has recognized Mr. Anderson. His teammates has recognized him. So I just wanted to make sure we recognize him in front of the board for what he does. So again, I don't know if Mr. Anderson on the phone, but Mr. Anderson, we recognize you today in this board meeting for your hard work.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Anderson.
That's for George.
The second person that I like to recognize, and they probably gonna be a little embarrassed because they're on the call, but I would like to recognize Mr. Reese Liggins Blackshear.
All right.
The reason why I'm saying that is, one, she was nominated by her peers, and secondly, since I've started here, every department that we have is important, very important. Procurement is probably one of the most important departments. One, because it is a department, and Ms. Blackshear will tell you, she'll probably laugh. I'll tell her, you are the department that if you want us to lose money, then you do your job wrong. She knows that. If you want us to lose some money, then do your job wrong. And I mean that, because procurement is the department that everybody looks at, whether you're HUD, or you are a vendor or contractor, or staff, it desperately affects the operations, within the Housing Commission. And I really pushed Ms. Blackshear to really get out a lot of solicitations, but also to understand some things that traditionally may have not been afforded to her. Section 3, things like that the Housing Commission really have to make sure that we are, on top of, that will allow our residents, will allow minority-owned businesses, female-owned businesses to have opportunities here. And so, that's extremely important. And so she's engaged herself, in training, speaking with other housing commissions. And I just want to recognize her for her hard work. These solicitations and resolutions that you all see, I put her in charge of them. Resolutions come from procurement, in my opinion. So I put her in charge of that, I think she has done a good job. And she gets tired of me because I talk to her every day, multiple times. And I take all her candy out of her bowl in her office. So for many reasons, I just want to recognize her today for her hard work.
Yay! Yay!
Congrats, Therese.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper, and
Well deserved, yes.
co-workers and the commissioners. This was unexpected, and yes, I do work hard, but I did not expect this. I just do my job. I do my job.
Good job, Therese. Good. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Congrats.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Good deal. Few things that I had for my report, commissioners. I really wanted to just mention a couple things. One, some of the resident initiatives. I will let, when Ms. Jankowski does her report, I'll let her do the introduction of an employee. I'll save that. I'll let her do that. Of one of our employees that started, that's going to be here new. That's integral in what we're going to be doing. But resident initiatives. There's a few things that I wanted to make known. That one, I thank Ms. Sutton for getting through our application for AmeriCorps. Our application was approved, and now we're just going through the process to get that VISTA worker, which is going to be sorely needed, which will provide opportunity to help residents out. They can be used in many fashions. So, HUD is pushing that, especially with us as we start to do more things in the Envision Center. So that process is coming along good, and we anticipate, I think, June 1, I think is the date that they have set to really get this off the ground and to have somebody come in here. So we will have an AmeriCorps Vista, and that gets a person some good experience too. If anybody's familiar with the AmeriCorps Vista program, we had encouraged and enthused to say we were afforded the Ross grant for the fiscal year 2021 for 3 years. I think that is tremendous. That is huge, and I don't know that we all really understand the impact. Like, we were the only housing commission in Michigan to get this grant. It's $227,000. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you all. Again, this was set in motion prior to me. So, I thank the staff, the Sutton and the former resident services person, because they really got this going. And so for us to get this grant, it allows us to have a position for 3 years, a funded position for 3 years that will allow the coordinator, it's called Ross, Resident Opportunity Self-Sufficiency, I believe. Resident Opportunity and Self-Sufficiency. This allows this person to come in to really work with the residents. It's perfect timing. We hired a resident services employee. Now we get this grant. So then we bring in another person. Then we have this AmeriCorps Vista worker. So we are really building an opportunity to really assist the residents. And it's like boom, boom, boom. I mean, you couldn't script it any better than what how this occurred. So we are partnering with Wayne Metro Community Action Agency. They are the contract administrators, so they will be the ones to kind of keep us on track to make sure that we're in compliance with the grant, the expenditures, programming. They're going to allow us and put us on with different partnerships, so we can continue to keep the program going. So they have they'll be able to leverage and bring in different partners that we may not be able to internally. So, you know, for the board, if there's other partners and things that are really interested in working with us, as you have always done since I've started here, you know, engaging the different partners, we'll have an opportunity now to do more, you know, with this Ross grant. So I'm very, very encouraged with that. We had our community cleanup, and I'm going to share my screen to just show you something here. Give me a second here. Bear with me. Sorry, Miss Sutton. I apologize ahead of time. Can you see?
No.
Can you see yet? Okay.
No.
It still shows the resolution on this screen.
There shows a resolution.
Yeah.
Yes.
It might be on the other screen.
Oh, go on it.
Rock roll. There we go.
Can you see?
Yes. We know her.
Bussin', right?
All right.
All right. Director's out working.
Yeah, we got another one for you. Hold on. I consider it, I think Councilman Williams said it earlier, and I don't know if you can see the next one there.
Yep.
Can you
that's
make him
cheap.
larger?
Can I make him larger? I think the picture's small. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Who is
You
that?
might be able to hold control, and if you got a wheel on the mouse, it might spin it up a little bit. Hey.
There you go.
That's Chief Riley pickup sticks.
Oh, yeah. I see him. Okay.
You know, we had a 2-day event, and again, I think Councilman said I think it went really well. You know, we did it at multiple sites. We tried to focus on the areas that really needed some cleanup. You know, we had, and I thank Officer Arnica from the Inkster Police Department, and again, I think Councilman mentioned earlier, like she really was instrumental working with asset management to organize this. They had everybody from animal control to probation department, to the police, to Inkster staff. You know, we had a lot of people out there, and it was good to be out there and to really be able to interact, you know, with each other. We invited the residents. We had lunch. Thank Resident Council for providing lunch one day. So, you know, again, this was just one of the many things that we want to do to make sure that we show residents how engaged we are with what we do in our properties and each other. So, you know, even though it was cold and rainy one day, you know, we still were able to accomplish a great deal. And again, I think just to reflect and show that what we say we want to do, that we will do, and to demonstrate some of these things in terms of, you know, us caring about the staff, our properties, us caring about our residents, and how, you know, our curb appeal and thing looks. I think this was really good. Again, I wish we may have had more residents out, but that's okay. This is the first time, and I'm sure we'll get more next time. It won't be the last time. I think Ms. Sutton and them have something planned for Twin Towers in the next couple weeks. We're going to be doing flowers and things. Of course, you know, we see it's winter out now, so we got to give that a little time. But again, we did have our community cleanup, so I did want to mention that. I'm currently working with the new resident services specialist that Ms. Jankowski will introduce. We have several partners at the Simmons building. We have now crafted, thank you to Mr. Milt, have crafted some new lease agreements. I just reviewed them all this week, so we'll get those out to the partners. And my main thing with that is that, if you're a partner and if you're utilizing our buildings and space, you have to please make sure that you demonstrate how is it impacting the residents. Even if no one comes to whatever service program or whatever we're offering, we want to see some sort of metrics. We want to see some sort of feedback to show, the outreach, to show what we're doing. I think that's critical. And so we wanted to make sure we add that into our MOUs and lease. And this is specifically more for our partners that may have like in-kind space. If we have partners that are using space, they're paying to do a service primarily with their organization, then, we may not be able to expect a great deal. But I would hope that anybody utilizing our space will allow our residents or be able to provide some level of service, whatever that service is. So we are formalizing those partnerships and agreements now, making sure we have good leases and things in place. I think the only other thing I had under our operations and training, I'll say this, that over the past couple weeks, we've had emphasis here, training our staff. It's been 2 weeks, and I've authorized a third week. So I think that's important because we need to know how to utilize the software. It is apparent to me that, we did not have the level of services and the ability to pull different things out of this software. Every software has its positives and negatives, every single one. But to not be able to utilize the software really just is problematic for us. So emphasis came in. We had a debriefing meeting. We talked about some additional things that we need to do, that they're going to provide for us, some cleanup of things that's going to impact some of our stats. Some of the things that you all see on a monthly basis, commissioners, with this cleanup, it's going to really help. So I think the money was well worth it, well spent. It was needed. We did have some one-on-one time with staff. Some staff actually had the trainer for a day or multiple days in a row, one-on-one time. Can't underestimate that. So, like I told the staff, you got to get what you can get while you got it. Because there's not too much more we can do after this. We need to know the basics. And so we had that. Next week, we have Midwest Inspections, who did our UPCS inspections coming in. We are actually going to do UPCS training. REACT and UPCS is something, as I'm sure all the board members are aware, this was a part of our recovery. Our agreement. This was an issue for HUD, and as rightfully so, it should be. We need to make sure that we are doing certain things and doing the best that we can, not just because of a score. A score is one thing, but making sure that we upkeep the property internally, inside the units and outside. So, the majority of our staff board are young tenure. We had a discussion today with Ms. Sutton and her team. I don't know that we really fully understand REACT, UPCS, strategy behind an inspection, how to attack it. So I said, we're going to pay the money and we're going to bring somebody in here to train us. And after they train us, then the expectation is that now, I'm not saying you're going to be a guru, but we need to put forth some strategy now that we have an understanding of how to go about some of these things. So next week, we have a 2-day training over UPCS, Uniform Physical Condition Standards. So that should be very good. That's well needed, and that should position us well to be able to do some things and understand what we're doing more strategically when it comes to the repairs. So that's really it for this time. I'm not going to go on because I want to allow the staff to at least be able to discuss some of the consent items. Some of them have prepared some information. I've talked to them, and we want to kind of keep it streamlined so that we can move through the consent items. But I think it's important that the directors and managers, specifically as it relates to the consent items on the board report, asset management, HCB, compliance, finance, I think it's important for them to speak to the board, regarding some of their stats and some of the things that we're doing. So that completes my report.
All right, Director, thank you so much for that brief report, sir. And that will take us down to item 10A. First of our consent report items, which is finance.
This is Francis.
Francis.
I want to share some finance goals. Under the direction of Executive Director Mr. Cooper, the Finance Department endeavors to sharpen its focus on meetings, on the IHC new accounting objectives and challenges in tightening internal controls and engage in more financial forecasting. The finance intend to accomplish these goals by doing the following: working more closely with IHC directors and managers to better understand their needs and how finance can better support each department's goals and objectives. Also monitor expenses to ensure that IHC is operating within budgets and provide appropriate follow-up applicable departments as needed. Continue to meet periodically with the IHC fee accountant to discuss IHC finance matters to ensure that we remain on target towards meeting IHC financial goals and to address any concerns as it relates to the financial position. Congratulations, we are hiring an accountant to assist with maintaining the integrity and accuracy and timeliness and processing of the company's receivables and payables. And we're also going to streamline and standardize our internal process with intent of ensuring vendors are paid on time and that any issues which could impact the timeliness of payments are going to cap at a minimum. The goal is to educate staff and vendors on their respective roles related to maximizing efficiency in handling the receivables and payables. Engage in continued education to ensure that IHC financial policies, processes, and practices are in accordance with general accepted accounting principle and HUD financial requirements. That's all the goals I have.
All right. And you mind going into the financial report?
Andrea's going to present the financial report tonight.
Oh, all right. Fair enough. Miss Andrea, whenever you are ready.
Yeah. So the Finance Committee met, good evening, everyone. So the Finance Committee met this afternoon, and we went through and reviewed the financials, and the highlight, I think, that we came to was that Mr. Cooper, you had wanted to speak to the fact that the accounts payable report that you received was considerably higher than the same time last year, and that, did you want to speak to that, or?
Sure. No problem, Andrea. Thank you. For the board, we met today, like Ms. Hart said, regarding our finance committee. So I wanted to point out just one thing. So if the board has reviewed the information, I wanted to call to this attention the vendor report to demonstrate some of the things that we said we were going to be doing is coming to fruition, but to also, let the board know that we are monitoring the expenses, and there are some things that we found to where we're going to get some return, if you will, some return funds. So for this time period, if you're looking at the vendor report for March, I think that's 7th. I'm sorry, my copy is from March 7th, 21 to April 13th, 21. We spent about $300,000 more than what we spent last year. The same time period, I should say. So 3/7/20 to roughly 4/9/20. So, you know, anytime I see something like that, then I go back and I say, well, what happened? Why? Was it a timing thing? You know, did an invoice fall at this time that didn't fall last year? Is it something that we knew about, or is it a surprise? So what is it? Because again, it's not like this is a substantial increase. So when we went and we look back at, you know, the expenses, I think the board is aware, and I've said that this since day one, that we're going to spend some more funds because we need to make sure that we keep the property up. So it's not going to be a secret. We will spend some more funds, even with lawn. I give an example, lawn care. The resolution that for today, you know, we didn't do that last year. So, you know, if we're talking an additional roughly $200,000 on the AMP's expenses, then that right there proves kind of what we said. Now, we still have to spend it responsibly and watch our pennies. But we went back and just looked. And again, some of these expenses were expenses that we predicted. I mean, we some of them were training. You know, we put a new boiler at Twin Towers. We did a lot of plumbing repairs. We've had purchases with hardware from IT perspective. But probably the major one is insurance. We paid a large amount of invoices for insurance. When we went back and checked, there were some of those invoices that the insurance company will need to refund us for. So the number is inflated because of that. The expenses, again, were substantially increased from this year to last year. But we will receive a refund for some of that. So that's a good thing. We did reach out to the insurance company. But I just wanted to call to attention to that to the board. We will see when we have these reports from month to month. I know we will see some increases from this year versus last year. But these increases are increases that the AMPs right now can support, and that they're going to support for the rest of the year. I mean, we are looking pretty good when it comes to our financial position, you know, for our AMPs. So, you know, we will spend financially responsible and monitor these expenses.
All right.
And then in addition to that, the other thing that we had discussed was in multiple categories across the budget, because of the changing of the overall momentum and management plan, that we will be needing to come back to you mid-year with a budget revision. And so the Finance Committee is going to be meeting and discussing in particular the COVID funds and coming up with final thoughts and recommendations after the April results are finalized. And they'll be looking at it then in May, and then we'll be coming back with an update on the COVID fund spending plan and budget, as well as a mid-year budget revision for the organization as a whole. Other than that, your financial results are consistent, with normal operations in general. There's nothing of particularly to note. If you did look at the detail on the public housing properties, you may have noticed that the revenue for subsidy looks a little low. That's just a timing issue because we did our submission, we did our budget based on what we thought that we would receive for the 2021 year, but HUD did not actually request documents to even determine what our 2021 subsidy would be for the year until early March is when we submitted them. And so we are very, very close to that budget number, but HUD was paying us off of the prior year budget number. So we do anticipate receiving some catch-up funds, if you will, on the operating subsidy. And then if you also happen to notice that we have some high levels of other income at the AMP levels, those were insurance proceeds or insurance receipts from those fire units that we had in late 2019, 2020 time frame. So those were the only other highlights that we had to share with you, or that we discussed of particular note. Are there any questions?
I had a question, just generally how the I was noting that the expenses came in real shy of budget, which is great. I was just curious as to what may have caused, what's causing the.
Well, you may or may not recall that we had put a tremendous, just I'm looking at AMP1 right now. I mean, we put $700,000 budget on the maintenance side. We had put large budgets in the maintenance, and here we are 3 months in, and we're just getting started essentially with getting that work contracted for, getting it completed. So we're behind on those renovations that we had spoke to on getting the vacant units back online, as an example. So the majority of the money was in that category actually at both ends, and that's really where we're behind.
Okay, and not so much necessarily with the amps, but like the expenses on CLCCFC was well under budget for this, and so was IHC CVP operations.
Yeah, I think that we are finally getting the expenses coded to the right locations, and I've made some adjusting reclassifications accordingly. So we're not just absorbing expenses in the COCC, and that we're also ensuring that HCB is only receiving their fair share of expenses.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to see it. I was just curious as to what. I'm very happy to see that. So okay, I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think I'll just speak towards with the amps. Andrew, thank you. And she mentioned with the amps, I really predict that these expenses we're gonna see a swing. As we move into the summer, UPCS having a training, the staff to really grasp, how to attack, these different deficiencies from UPCS and react. As we look to bring some units online, these expenses, for the amps, we're going to start to see some things move, but I think it's all in line with what we believe, what we projected. So it's not going to be anything that we won't control.
All right. Appreciate that. Anybody else with anything for finance? All right. If not, let's go ahead and move down to item 10B. If anybody has anything for asset management. George, do you have anybody that's present anything for asset management this year?
Miss Sutton, is your computer acting right? No.
Yeah, you sound like you at Comerica Park or something. Good.
Sure. I'll we've talked. Miss Sutton and I talked, so I'll just mention a couple things. She did prepare. I will give her credit. She did prepare some information for the board, but I'll speak on it. Let me pull up the notes I had here. But with asset management, I think for us, I think what we're reporting on, typically that the board is, I want to make the board aware is, of course, with our age receivables. I know the number appears to be large when you look at the report. When I look at the asset management for age receivables, if Father was attention to that, that it appears to be large, but I will say we are in a position to where we are earning the full points under HUD's scoring system. So, I'm encouraged by that. However, we don't want any money to leave the Housing Commission. So, but I'll be remiss to say that if every housing authority and housing commission you speak with is probably struggling in age receivables and rent collection, with the impact of COVID. Not blaming COVID fully, but it's just been really difficult. And so this will have a long-lasting impact, I believe, on all housing commissions and housing authorities. So, we're working on our process. We are notifying residents. We are offering opportunities for residents to pay, to enter into repayment agreements. We are providing information to them. We did last month. We'll do this month. Wayne Metro is also providing assistance. So we received some information from them. And so we're really just trying to engage the residents and let them know, hey, look, if you're struggling, talk to us. Don't ignore us. If you're struggling, talk to us. There are opportunities. There are things that we can do. There are ways that we can help. But the age receivables, again, I am enthused to see that we are scoring well under HUD's scoring system. But still, there's still an amount of funds that we need to try to recoup or collect on. But that's just an ongoing process. Myself and Ms. Sutton did talk about, some different strategies and things. And again, it just all has to do with outreach. We are under the CDC declaration, which for everyone, I try to make sure that we're clear on this. The CDC declaration doesn't mean you don't have to pay your rent or fees. It means that if you're impacted by COVID, you have to notify us and you can declare that you've been impacted, which then will allow us to stop or not proceed with any eviction. So, until residents declare that, we still have to proceed, with our attempts for rent collection, because it's something that we're held accountable to with HUD. But more importantly, that's how we earn revenue. Other than the subsidy we get, that's the only way we earn any money to keep us operating. Our goal is not to put anyone out. Our goal is not to evict anybody and cause any more homelessness and things. But we have to outreach to the residents and make sure that they understand that just come talk to us. That's all we ask. Come talk to us. So that's one thing that we continue to work on. Our recertifications is something that's been ongoing, and I think the board has asked about that. I think Ms. Sutton, we talked, she has a good plan. She's working with the Director of Compliance to bring down that number, which we think we can bring down fairly quickly. We've also engaged conversations with the third-party consultant to help us. So, if they can help us, and actually they actually, it is emphasis because it's their system. They have some ways that they can help us, not necessarily outreach to the residents, but there are some ways for us to be able to work with the software to where we can rectify some of these recertifications, with the touch of a button, if you will, because we have to do everything manually here, repetitive. But there's ways that the software can help us to streamline that. So any help that we can get, we're going to look towards. With that said, again, I think we ask that the residents help us in this regard. There was a question from resident council regarding the recertifications. We are sending out letters. I think that's clear. I think that's obvious because people are asking. But there are a significant portion of folks that aren't coming in. And if residents don't come in, this is an obligation under the lease. This is something that we have to report to HUD. And the CDC declaration does not protect non-compliance of the lease. It only protects non-rent or rent payments. So, again, our goal is not to evict anyone. Our goal is not to create homelessness for the fact that you won't come and complete some documents for us. We're offering creative ways. We're doing things via phone. All you have to do is call us. There's ways that we can get documents completed over the phone. And so we're offering all those approaches. But we need help. We need help from resident services, and we need help from the residents because this is something that we have to do. If we're not able to get residents in, we have to move forward with some lease terminations. And we hope, we don't want it to go there, but if we have to go there, we hope that residents will really take this serious. We can really get this done quick if we get people to come in and talk to us and get us what we need. So that's one big thing that continually we see on our board report that Ms. Sutton is working to make sure that we can get this under control. And as we move forward monthly, we want to report a reduction in these numbers. So those are the two, main things that I can speak of, that are on the asset management board report consistently. Work orders is one. Again, I think we do fairly well. Do we have some outstanding work orders that we need to complete? Yes. But our goal is to make sure that we reduce the time. That's what I'm pushing with Ms. Sutton. Reduce the time. The time is one thing. The number of work orders will change every day. That's just going to fluctuate based on people calling. But how fast are we responsive is what I'm looking to make sure we improve our responsiveness, in completing the work orders. So, that's something that, again, I think next week will help when we go through this training. It's going to bring a greater attention to the type of work orders that are more critical, if you will, understanding that every work order that a resident call, is important to them. It's their unit, and we don't take that for granted. But that's something that we continue to work on and strategize. So that's asset management. If the commissioners have any questions under the asset management report that was sent, feel free to ask.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. With regard to the boarding up program and stuff that we got going on now, how is that progressing? How are we still having those every week or every other week, or is there still a whole bunch more to be done? How are we looking on those?
Yeah. So I think we moving excellent, Chairman. When we were out there for the community cleanup last week, you could see where these VPS security screens, they're loaded, they're everywhere. And it just provides a better look to the community, when you have vacancy. Of course, nobody wants vacancy, period. And so we're moving along really, really good. I see their trucks out there every other day, if not every day. Now, what we have to do is we've took the approach that we've done the bottom windows and doors, but we had some feedback when we were out that people are climbing up some of the landings going in the second story window, which just to me is just ridiculous because, we rent these things. There's a rental fee for every single one we have on. So the more that I have to put on, the more that it costs us. And when we were out there, there were several windows that were broken on the upstairs in different places. Lemoyne, more so Lemoyne. Denby looks a lot better, but more so Lemoyne. And I told staff, talking to Sutton, and told the asset managers, we just gonna have to put the screens on the top window because we will be chasing broken windows all summer. And so we're just gonna have, that's just a cost that the Housing Commission is gonna have to sustain until we go another route. And unfortunately, the Safety and Security Grant, NOFA, which is a notice of funding, came out recently. So we have a meeting, I think, Thursday with the police because we're going to we're going to re-put in an application. We didn't get this last one, but we're going to put in another one. And I think we need to look for funding or ask for funding as a part of this grant to help us fund to be able to purchase security screens. They won't fund VPS, I don't think so. But what they will fund is security screens, which are metal screens that are just like screens at any White House, but they're metal. They're heavy duty, and they go in front of the window, so people can't break windows and rocks. So I think that's something that we should look into as a part of this safety and security grant, which will lower our costs with VPS, at least on the top windows. I would still put VPS on the bottom because we don't want people in there. But at the top, maybe we could put these security screens. So I think we're coming along great. I think I don't want to say we're just about done because I think this is going to be ongoing. But I can say that the number of vacant units that had boards or nothing in place, broke windows and things like that, you don't see that when you ride around anymore. You may catch a few here or there, and some of these may just occur. But I can guarantee you, when you ride around, you don't see the look that you seen, 2 months ago.
No, you don't.
No, we don't.
Okay. All right. So let's see. And I know you spoke about the recertification issue, and the plan that's coming in the scope. But do you have anything? Do you think when you say you think the numbers are going to start coming down, are we talking like in the next 60 days numbers might start moving? How much more logistics do you have to do before you can actually start putting the work together to bring that number down?
Oh, 60 days, absolutely. Absolutely, Chairman, absolutely. So, and we're at about 379 now.
Okay.
And every month comes another month. So if I did nothing today, then in May, I'll have another potentially 50 more delinquent.
Right.
So, my direction to Ms. Sutton and to Mr. Watson is we got to work the backlog, but we got to work the current. And they have to run simultaneously, because if not, then the current will turn into the backlog. And so our strategy, because what it is, Chairman, is you may have one resident, let's just say John Doe. But John Doe is delinquent 3 or 4 years. That's why the number is so large, because we haven't done a recertification for 3 years. So what our strategy is to get John Doe. And as we do a recertification, for John Doe. When we get him, we got him. So we're going to have to go in and straighten out and make sure everything is correct for John Doe for 3 years. And if we do that, then again we address the numbers more rapidly. Our problem is making sure that we get the people in. That's the hard part, is getting the people in. But I do know that the strategy proposed and talked with Ms. Sutton just today, and we talked before. We're going to see this number decrease. As well as if folks don't come in, we will have no choice but to terminate leases. So it's going to be multiple avenues that we're going to have to take to get this number down. But we don't want to do the latter, but we don't have a choice.
Okay. My last question is the waiting list. How's shoring up and making sure that we're clearing on the individuals on the waiting list? How's that looking?
Oh, actually good. We just reopened our waiting list, by the way. Our waiting list had been closed for what? Roughly 4 months, 5 months. If you want to nod your head. Okay, there you go. So roughly 4 or 5 months, our waiting list did close. I predict we had to open the waiting list. One, because I think there's a need for housing, and two, because we're starting renovations. So we already started at Twin Towers, and the waitlist manager has already started briefings. I think they may have been over there today. Now, what I will say is, and this is for the board, and because the board can help us, is we're going to have to market, some of our properties, specifically Twin Towers, because the waiting list numbers can shrink very quickly, because people won't show, people won't come. If they do come, they won't get us back the information. So, we are working the waiting list. I think we had approximately, what was the number?
I don't have him.
We had a number of people on the waiting list once we closed it, and I got it here. Chairman, bear with me. I'm gonna grab it here. Shucks. Right here. So we had roughly 2,700 people on the waiting list, public housing. And I'll give you an example. There was 100 odd people for Twin Towers. Well, typically in housing authorities, only 30%. You may get a 30% show rate or success rate. So if we're talking 120 people, which is a small number, I'll be transparent. That's a small number just on one wait list on Twin Towers. Then if you're talking 30%, then we're talking roughly 40 people, may make it through the process, and if that's the number, then for us, with 20 odd vacancies at Twin Towers, we know we need to beef that number up. So we're going to have to market specifically Twin Towers right now. The other properties, maybe not so much right now, but Twin Towers, we're going to have to market whether we do it via radio, publication, or what have you. Well, we're going to have to do something. But we are working the wait list to answer your question, specifically Twin Towers, because that's the first property we're looking at targeting to lease up.
All right. I appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. All right. Next, if there's nothing else, next one up is Housing Choice Voucher.
That would be Ms. Sanford, and I think she has some information she wants to share with the board. So I'm going to stop my share here. And Nancy, do I need to do something? Open this up for you?
Just share your screen, please.
You want me to share mine?
Give me control. I'm sorry.
That's I think that's somebody else's.
That's somebody. Take it down.
Somebody's information
Resume.
on the screen. No, resume.
It's not mine. Take it down.
Yeah, you want to stop sharing your screen there, dude.
I think that's not mine.
That's not mine.
I think that's yours, George. Yep.
Okay, Nancy, you want to try it?
Let me see here. Okay, here we go.
Man, I was gonna say that wasn't mine. I didn't have
That wasn't mine. No, I didn't do that. Okay, so on my monthly report, delinquent inspections, we had a total of 61. Out of the 61 that's delinquent, we identified 48 just need to be uploaded to PIC, and the 13 are being scheduled this week.
Nancy, are you trying to show like a presentation or something?
I am.
I don't think we do. You all see it?
No, all it says is
No.
OneDrive. It says
No.
right there.
There you go.
Got to
There you go.
that,
You want it now?
I hadn't got to that yet.
Oh,
I'm so
we're
sorry. I was just,
that's all right.
just going over my report just briefly in reference to the delinquent inspections. So we had 61 that's delinquent. Out of the 61, 48 just need to be uploaded to PIC, and then 13 will be rescheduled.
All right.
Okay, so for those who don't know, I am Nancy Sanford, the director of the Housing Choice Voucher. We have two staff members, Mr. Robert Howard and Ms. Makita Woods, who are case workers. What is the Housing Choice Voucher? The Housing Choice Voucher program is federally funded. The Housing Choice Voucher program is the federal government's major program for assisting very low-income families, elderly, and disabled to afford decent, safe, and sanitary housing in the private market. Inkster Housing receives federal funds from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to administer the voucher program. A family that is issued a voucher is responsible for finding a suitable housing unit of the family's choice where the owner agrees to rent under the program. The unit may include the family's present residence. We call that leasing in place. Rental units must meet minimum standards of health and safety as determined by the PHA. A housing subsidy is paid to the landlord directly by the PHA on behalf of the participating family. The family then pays the difference between the actual rent charged by the landlord and the amount subsidized by the program. We currently have 751 vouchers with 594 leased. I am currently working with the 2-year 2. The objective of the 2-year 2 is to analyze Inkster Housing Choice Voucher Program's utilization situation, which includes running basic leasing and spending scenarios to better inform decision-making going forward in an effort to optimize the program over a multi-year period. So right now, in 2021, January, units months leased available is 751. We had 598 that was actually leased up, and the dollar amounts what we spent was the 379,971. For February, same thing, 751 available, 599 lease, 369, 256 spent. March 2021, 594 leased. Today, we have 594 vouchers that are actually leased up out of 751. So in meeting with our fee accountant and going over numbers to better understand our tool, I don't know if you can see this. It's big enough for you to see. Okay, let me see. Wait a minute. Let me try to enlarge it because I was trying to do something with it. Oh, that ain't gonna work. Let's see. Here it is, wait. Oh, there it go. Is that better?
Yeah,
That's better.
Yes.
it's better.
That's a little better.
Yes.
Okay, wait. Come on, mouse. Okay, so as I stated, effective March 21, we have 594 vouchers that are leased up. According to our funding with the 2-year tool, we can actually lease up more people off the waiting list. We anticipated leasing about 50 to 40 people per month within the next 4 months. So as you can see here, for May, let's see, where am I? So we're losing about three families per month. Oh, this thing is driving me crazy.
That's okay. Go on.
Yes.
I'm just trying so y'all can see it. Okay, so we're losing about 3 families per month. And what we anticipate doing for the next 4 months is trying to lease up at least 40 to 50 people per month, which will bring our leasing plan up to, we'll say like May. If we lease up 50 people, that would give us a total of 632 families that we have leased up. If we lease up 40 in June, that would take us to 669. If we lease up 50 in July, that would take us to 716. And then August, if we lease up 40, that would take us to 753, which we won't get there because we only have 751 vouchers. The plan is to lease up as many as we can and watch the dollars as we go. So every month when we call people in, I have to watch and monitor that 2-year tool to see where our dollar amount is to make sure we don't go over and end up in a shortfall. So again, the plan is, our goal is to lease up 40 to 50 families within the next 4 months. We currently have 500 applicants on the waiting list. How can we meet our goal? Our plan is to invite at least 200 applicants per month in hopes to be able to lease 40 to 50 people. As Mr. Cooper had mentioned earlier on the public housing side, in order for us to reach our goal, we have to bring in as many families as we can, because again, you know, you send letters out to families. Some people respond, some people don't. So we're gonna try to send out as many letters as we can in hopes to get that number as close as possible. But 40 to 50 people per month is really hard. But again, if we send out our letters and just try to get as many people as we can to come in, we may reach that goal. But the only way we're going to be able to do that is to call in a large group of people. So what we've started to do, with Makita and myself, we met with Emphasis last week. And so we started pulling people off the list. So we've already started sending out letters. Our first eligibility meeting will be April 26th through the 27th. So we're going to meet families for the whole day. We schedule families to come in every 30 minutes. And what they'll do is bring in their information. We'll process the information to make sure they're eligible to go to the next step, which will be the briefing process. We are working on having a landlord outreach program. I have a webinar that HUD sent me about a month ago that I can distribute to our current landlords now. As Mr. Cooper mentioned earlier about the Facebook page, we're going to put an advertisement on Facebook, just letting them know that we're reaching out for landlords, because the more landlords we have, the more promising our leasing plan can go up. We're also reaching out to other housing agencies to find out, you know, what their goals are, how they reach their goal as far as leasing. Because again, you know, our leasing is down. We know what we have to get; it has to come up, but we have to have a plan in order to do that. And this is our plan so far. And I believe that is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. I wasn't expecting a whole PowerPoint.
I know I wasn't either. I'm a little nervous, but I got through it. Thank you, Lord. Like I said, I know that's the leasing has been, you know, a discussion on both ends, and so that's the goal for us to try to increase our leasing as much as we can. And in that, we have to just reach out to other communities, agencies, and things of that nature, and call in people to be able to assist us. But until then, my staff and I have just decided to go ahead and move forward. So last week we sent out letters, and we'll be busy all next week. So if you see cars in and out of coming in and out of the parking lot, you know what's going on at the Simmons Center.
Okay. With regard to the lease up, because trying to get 40, 50 new residents, that's a hard lift. Let me ask you about funding, because I think Commissioner Moore spoke about was the residents going to have to pay more. With regard to this program, though, is there going to be any adjustments as far as monies that the landlord is getting or that the tenant is going to have to pay with when you mess with the 2-year tool to try and make sure this is affordable?
Well, that was part of our discussion with Mr. Cooper. We were going to look back over our payment standards to see if we need to lower them or whatever, because right now, with the adjustments that we're doing now with COVID, with people losing their jobs and things of that nature, our half dollars are going up. So we have to go back to the table and look and see what can we do, what do we need to do. Maybe negotiate with the landlords, you know, asking them to probably lower their rent, something to that degree. But it's a conversation that we've had and we will continue to having as to how we'll be able to attack that, because Mr. Cooper had a question from me earlier today in our meeting, was like, your participation, you're losing people, Nancy, but your half is steadily going up, and I had to explain that to him.
That's your Mr. Cooper right there?
That's okay, right there, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
That's right. He asked that question, he posed that question to me today, and I had to tell him, yes, we losing people. We had 3 people that passed within the last 3 months, but we're not leasing. But folks are still losing their jobs. We got people that have zero HAP. We got to go back and revisit that. Find out what's going on. Are you working? Why you're not reporting your income? So there's a lot of things that we have to do on our end to be able to see where we are with our dollars.
All right. Well, I'm curious and interested to see what strategy y'all come up with to try and get this 40/50. That's going to be.
Oh, yeah. Listen, you want to come help, you can.
All right.
You're welcome.
All right.
And Chairman, I think you're right. First, I want to thank Nancy for that. That was very, very good. I encouraged her. She had created with all the hard work, but then didn't want to present. So I'm gonna put you out there on that.
That was wrong.
I said no. I suggest you present it, and she did very well. And what you said, Chairman, is absolutely correct. And Ms. Hart, I want to thank her because she helped us kind of do these projections.
Yeah.
And what you said is going to be a very tall task. I mean, I'll be transparent as possible. Very, 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 very tall task for the staffing that we have, and for the program size and to have restaff. Very tall task to go from 0 that we have in multiple months, and now that we're 4 months in the year, and to then have such a high number to have to ascertain is going to be very difficult. And there's the Housing Choice Voucher Program, and Nancy, has said it in her talk. It's different than the public housing program. Like it's almost like the Titanic. You just don't turn that in a month. Like you turn that slowly, and you have to turn it slowly and continually crank it and turn it slowly to reverse any type of negative trend, if you will. So we have a task ahead of us. There's no secret, and especially amongst COVID. We can't underestimate COVID is a monster, and trying to get people to bring us stuff, trying to do things to where you don't want to have large numbers of people together, trying to get people to just come see you when the fear of COVID is real is very difficult. And I don't know what number we're going to reach. But I do know that without having a goal, we won't reach anything. So we have to establish some goals and keep pushing to get the number. And ultimately, if we fall short when it comes to leasing X amount, my thing to the Housing Choice Voucher Program and Nancy is we have an obligation to assist as many families as possible. That's the goal. So let's assist. But with that, the website will help. I think Vice Chair Brock said it. We need to get this website. We need to partner with other housing authorities' best practices. If we need to bring in someone to help out the voucher team, like I told Nancy, let's get some quotes and see who can come in here and help us. We don't know what we don't know. Maybe somebody else knows some better approaches and streamlined approaches. But the thing we do know, we have to get some leases and get some families, some of these vouchers, because it just affects our program if we don't.
All right. Thank you again, Nancy. Anybody else for ACV?
Well.
Okay. Director, just for the interest of time, because it is getting a little bit late. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure that if you have somebody else who's set to perform other than HR, to present other than perform. I'm sorry. To present other than HR. Yes. let me, you can go ahead and put them forward for their particular consent report.
Okay, yeah, I don't think there's too much. I know Mr. Watson had something, but I think his is pretty self-explanatory. His compliance report that he reports to the board. Mr. Watson, we're gonna have to catch you next time, sir. It sounds like HR has trumped your report, but it's okay. You are equally as important.
If you got something, let's have it. I don't want to run over everybody. Anybody who said
I agree with Mr. Cooper. I can wait. I can hold my end of a conversation. I tell.
Sorry.
Oh my goodness! I swear.
You didn't. Okay. Well. Let's see. I mean, if. We gotta do compliance. So we go ahead and put that out, and then we'll get to HR here, and we'll make this a 10 o'clock night.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'll end up mute. I'll just say I can out talk folk and I can out quiet them. So
right, sir.
I will be quick. Basically, a great advantage that I have in being in a compliance capacity is I get to work with people.
All right.
That was quick.
That was fascinating. Thank you.
People.
He's calling in.
All right. So let's go ahead and roll to human resources.
Wow, I don't know if I can top that, but he did end with people, which is absolutely fantastic. So I actually have the distinct pleasure of welcoming officially to her first board meeting Charlotte Coachman. She comes from the housing case manager in Washington County, and she was an independent contractor working with scale assessments on those who need, intake specialists, and many, many other wonderful things, and has her degree in social services. And I will have to say on a personal note, and Mr. Cooper and Ms. Coachman know that she was probably one of the best interviews I've ever had. She came with passion, authority on her subject, just a real keen sense of what needs to happen in our organization. She brings it from Washington. Let's bring it in for Ms. Charlotte Coachman.
Bring it in. Okay.
Right, that was exciting at the end of the day, right? And she's so great. Brings tears to my eyes.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that welcome. I'd just like to introduce myself. My name is Charlotte Coachman. I was previously working in Washington County, as she stated. I'm just happy to be here. I'm just ready to get out and meet all the residents. And thank you for the welcome.
Good.
Talk to you.
Welcome.
We're gonna be looking forward to it now.
Right.
I'm ready.
Just a couple strategic things. We did interview the three deputy director internal candidates. We're making a decision the first week of May, and we're reviewing with the BDO to meet our financial obligations and our structure to make it work for this organization. Project manager, we have 6 candidates, 7 now. Thank you very much, lined up through the next 2 weeks for our project operations manager, which we believe will shore up what we're doing with our business and help our friend there, our nominated associate for doing great things, Doris, to get this place moving forward with the projects that we have going on. And that is it. I'm so excited. And Commissioner Moore, thank you. I did contact your person regarding the resident services aid job, and I'll be speaking with them tomorrow.
Oh, fantastic.
And I can show you some pictures at my sister's farm. They've got 3 inches of snow, 4 inches. The horses have snow all over the place. So those of you who are in your resident, stay safe. Those of you who are traveling, drive safe.
All right. Thank you. All right. I guess we can try and backtrack to the gentleman from compliance that was...
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened, board chair, but I'll say it may be my cue to keep it under 30 seconds. So
that start off, it was like that was sound like a quick one.
I can keep it real quick.
Go ahead, bro.
Basically, what I was saying is that the beauty of dealing with compliance is I get to deal with people who deal with it every day, because I doubt there's anyone on this meeting who leaves out of the house before looking in a mirror. When you look in the mirror, you're comparing. You have an idea in your mind how you want to look. When you look in the mirror, you see how you look. It's no different than what we do in a housing commission. What I've dealt with for most of the last, more than 20 years. I started in 1995 at Herman Gardens at Detroit Housing Commission. Most of the people with whom I work, in fact, I'll say everyone with whom I work, have been engaged in quality control. We have an idea how things should be, but where are you at for real? You're comparing a practice or a status to a standard. And sometimes standards change. Sometimes how close we are to meeting a standard or status changes. Sometimes HUD rules say you have a new standard. Simply put, what the Inkster Housing Commission is transitioning to now is more, not so much quality control, this not right, that's not right, this needs to do better, that needs to do better, more quality assurance. What can we do? What can we put in place to maximize the likelihood that the practice, the status, marries up to the standard? So in my role, I deal with every department. I get to observe a lot of how we do what we do and try to understand the why behind the what. HUD's two major report cards with housing commissions are the Public Housing Assessment System for Public Housing Program, Public Housing Assessment System, FHAS, and the Section 8 Management Assessment Program for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. The long-term goal is for Inkster Housing Commission to be a high-performing PHA in both programs for as long as we're in those programs. What I get to do is look at what we're doing compared to the standard HUD has set. If there is a gap, what can we do to bridge the gap? What Mr. Cooper has allowed me to engage in is more in working on what I've referred to as the infrastructure. How do we strengthen our policies, our procedures, our workflows, our processes, and our reforms so that we are doing what we need to do in an efficient and effective way? When we report on the compliance update, the focus right now is on CMAP. The Inkster Housing Commission is closer to becoming a high performer in the Housing Choice Voucher Program than in the Asset Management Program. The reports you generally get each month shows where we are with some of the indicators within CMAP. At this point, the only indicator where we are not maxing out on points as far as our trend is with HQS inspection. That being said, the number of inspections have gone down latent inspections have gone down almost 50% in 2 months. So much credit to Ms. Sanford and her staff for a job well done. Recertifications, which was an issue in January, is no longer an issue and won't be an issue because we are now working toward increased monitoring and follow-up with staff, putting things in place to make sure we can keep meeting the metrics that reflect what HUD expects us to do. Continued education with staff to just help people understand what they do and their role in helping us become a high performer and the importance of what they do. Staff have to be educated. Residents also have to be educated. On the public housing side, some of you remember when this young man, who's not so young now, went out to each of the sites and did lease orientation. I knew going in there were some things residents didn't know. They weren't told. And so what we're doing by having the lease orientations was a type of quality assurance, letting you know what your rights are as a public housing resident so that this relationship we have, this contractual relationship we have known as a lease, that both sides understand their roles and what both sides need to do to stay in compliance with the agreement. So by working behind the scenes, working closely with department heads, working with the executive director, we are improving our approach to quality assurance. We are working with a third party to assess how we can do quality control more effectively. So you will likely see changes not only in numbers, but even how we let you know how we're progressing. That's what the compliance report really does, lets you know when it comes to CMAP how we're doing. You will likely see that report morph into something a little bit different, but will be more in line with seeing where we are on both sides in meeting the FOS and the CMAP goal. I know that wasn't 30 seconds, but I'm done.
I ain't said nothing, sir.
Yes, sir. I didn't have a PowerPoint. I'm sorry, I didn't have a PowerPoint like that.
All right. So, I appreciate that.
Chair, and I just want to add, if I could,
Yes.
and I think Mr. Watson said in his last sentence, is that we have signed an agreement with a consultant to come in and look at our quality control program as well as our tenant file management. That's something that we were cited for in our audit the past 2 years. So they'll be working with Mr. Watson and Ms. Sutton on that because that's not something that we will be cited for the third year.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. Other than that, let's see. That resident services. Are we ready for a resident services report?
Not at this time.
Okay. And security report. Is there anything from any of the security meetings?
I think Vice Chair wanted to make a comment.
All right.
I haven't been in any security meetings, but I do have a concern just in light of what is taking place throughout this country. I think that we really need to look at the security of our buildings. The fact that there has been over 40 mass shootings in a 30-day period is some concern as people are walking into buildings and just starting to shoot. It hasn't happened in Michigan, but we don't want to wait for it to happen before we decide to do something. Most of our buildings already have the protective glass, and before you can get in employee areas, you have to be buzzed in. But we want to make sure that people are not letting the doors stay open by the lock, which sometimes that happens because I've been at the Simmons Center before and they do that, and I have to turn the lock and lock the door all the time. But it's sometimes, I think this is the perfect time for us to go and assess the security of our buildings, our public space.
All right. You can't argue with that. As far as safety protocols, Director, we have, because we don't really have a hard policy on safety measures, but that she spoke of that lock turned over at Simmons, I've seen that myself. Mm-hmm. You know, you go over there to visit, and then they got the lock turned to keep the door from closing all the way shut. That's not going to work. I turn it too whenever I see it. I'm like, whoever out here, they hit, because that's we can't have that. So.
Absolutely. I mean, that's right on time comment, Vice Chair. And I don't know that we have, any structured protocols, Chairman, and I think that's something that we need to develop. I think sometimes with a commission, this size, that's something that kind of falls as a lower tier, and I'll say lower tier, but something that we just aren't looking at. And I think this is a time to where we need to really look at some of our processes, whether it's visitor policy, whether it's security as far as securing our buildings, who has access to our buildings. That's one big thing, especially, with the Simmons. And that's one thing that I was adamant on with the leases and the MOUs with the vendors and things over there. Like, who has access? I mean, who knows who's making copies of keys, giving them to their partners, friends to operate whatever out of our building. So, Mr. Watson did start a short time ago He mentioned to me about a key policy and getting better control over our own keys. So that is something. That's just one element, but that is something that we need to look more into. And one of the other things that it's funny that Vice Chair mentioned that. Just today, I sent Mr. Milton. I sent him a copy of I don't know where this. We have a security company at Twin Towers, and something just told me to speak with them about access to the building at Twin Towers. And I said, so how are you preventing visitors and guests and unwanted folks from coming into the building? And he sent me a copy of a guard's orders or guard's posting. And I said, well, where did this come from? Who created this? Is this something you created? Is this something the Housing Commission created? Because there was clauses in there that I don't know that anybody here has ever seen. And so I sent it to Ms. Sutton and her staff. I said, y'all look at this. We have an opportunity now, especially for a residential building. We have an opportunity to make sure that the policies in place for people coming in this building are what we want. And, we do that. We engage resident council, we engage the residents, and we come up with something that protects everybody. That's just Twin Towers. But it's funny that you brought that up, Vice Chair, because I just sent that. I sent it to Milt because I wanted him to look at it because one clause talked about weapons. And so I said, we got to be very cautious when we talk about weapons and things because people do have amendment rights. So, for people that live in buildings, we really got to make sure that, especially residential buildings, that we have policies in place that protect the residents, but also allow them to exercise their right. But when it comes to our public spaces, our management offices, things like that, we need to make sure that we are securing those spaces and have the proper protocols in place. So that's something that I wrote down and something that I will start to look more into and get the board some feedback on that.
Okay, because the Simmons Center, I've noticed they don't have buzzers for all the offices, just a few of them where you can buzz and talk to somebody. And so I think that's why they leave that door propped. I've seen that at Lemoyne. Whenever it's like a meeting or something in the summertime, to keep from that back door being open, they put this little wood block in the door. And I'm guilty of seeing it and not reacting to it myself. But it is so much going on in this country right now that I would hate to see anything happen to any of our employees, that could be something that we could prevent. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely. And I do know in my experience, as a risk manager, that our insurance company, although, folks may say, well, what is insurance going to do? Well, they have a whole branch of risk control. And so if we engage them, they may even come out and do an assessment for us, regarding some of our buildings and things. So that's something that I'll reach out to them. I can do that tomorrow just to start that conversation. But you're absolutely right. That is something that we need to look into in all facets.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it. That's all right. Yeah. Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, that'll take us down to item 11 on the agenda, says old business. I don't see anything there, so we will go to the next agenda item, number 12, which is new business, under which is commissioner's comments. Vice Chair will just speak, so we can start with her.
It's funny that Ms. Blackshear was complimented on her work because before that was even announced, I already had your name on this pad just to recognize her and the way she's moving about in procurement. I've noticed a really big change where you are very much engaged in that process. I mean, over and above. So congratulations and thank you for stepping up and being part of the change in IHC. I really do appreciate that.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
I also wanted to recognize DeSala. Just because she seems to always be engaged from a resident standpoint and bringing out issues that benefit the residents. So I just want to recognize her for staying engaged and bringing some things to light so that we don't forget about them. So thank you, DeSala, for that.
Yeah.
And do we already have a vendor on board that's rehabbing apartments that we need to get back online? I'm confused.
Yes. At
We
Twin
do?
Towers. Yeah, at Twin
Okay.
Towers specifically.
Okay, so they're working at the towers.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing that I have is about, you mentioned about the money that's being spent that we need to spend to get these apartments and training and all of this stuff together. And so as a commissioner, we're always looking at the bottom dollar. But my philosophy is it going to be money well spent? If it's money well spent and it's something that we need that's going to propel us to the future, I'm all for that. But we got to know where those dollars are going. It can't be a time that we got to come to the board and we're not sure what happened. So, in part of the finance committee, Aaron, how I expressed that. Like, how long is this going to happen? When is this going to be the correction? So that's the only thing I would caution about the money. It's got to be spent because the correction needs to be made, and we need to move our residents along in 21st century and make the improvements that's needed. But we got to keep our eye on the prize and spend our money wisely. So that's all I got for tonight. And thank you, everyone who has called and expressed concern for my health. I really, really appreciate it. But, it's in the hands of God, and he'll do what he always does. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Treasurer Strowman, you have anything this evening?
Not tonight. I'm
All right.
good.
All right. Commissioner Moore, anything this evening?
Just one thing, when you get a chance, when all of you get a chance, take a ride over the park side, go around the Carlisle Circle, and there's a gentleman's home. You will be so ecstatic. His grass is cut. He has flowers growing in flower pots. He's also cut the grass by the unit that has the VPS on it, and it's immaculate. He's not only did his, but he did a couple of other residents down the street. So you get a chance, really take a look. I'm just giving a shout out to him. I commended him when I was over there the other day on Monday. I don't know if Mr. Cooper took a good look because he was over there in a different capacity, but immaculate. And I think he deserves that shout out. So.
Oh, that sounds great. Mm-hmm. I would like to get him a gift card.
I was going to say,
Moore,
if there's something we can do to show our appreciation, and maybe it'll trickle down to others that, we appreciate you helping and doing something.
Well,
I'm willing to pay for it. I don't care about that.
I think that he'll like that, but he was ecstatic when I did tell him that we were looking for residents to come to be on to get a job as far as doing that particular work that he does, and he was so excited. So that's the gentleman that you heard Julie tell me that she did call. So I was ecstatic on that. So he was just so happy. He said that helps him. He's retired, and he said that gives him something to do.
Oh, that's so nice.
All right, I'm glad to hear that. That sounds good.
So nice. Yeah. I'll call you tomorrow. Bye.
Okay. All right. Oh, and one other thing. Okay, so I would like to know, when is the procurement committee going to be implemented? considering I want to know what's going on. And we haven't had a meeting or anything. So don't start smiling now, Miss Blackshear. I started to ask you that on Saturday because you know you are dedicated to the core. Miss Blackshear be here on Saturdays. I've seen her car on Sunday. I don't care. I'm gonna tell it because that means you are dedicated. I don't care. You're dedicated to the core, and I would commend you for that. And I do. I take my hat off to you for that. You are dedicated to the core. But that's what I like to do.
She like.
Thank you.
What? Me?
Hey.
That's what's up, though. That's cool.
Y'all got me all blushing.
I'll tell you what, because we got the two folks that's on the board that wants to set for it. So, basically, y'all can schedule up, come up with a timeline where you think you want to meet. Just let me know. Let
Chairman, who's the two commissioners?
Commissioner Moore and Commissioner Brock.
Okay. Okay, what if I follow up with commissioners? What if I follow up with you all? Maybe you got time tomorrow. Just give you a call and see what works best for you. If Chairman, if you don't mind.
I do not, sir.
That's fine.
All right. Anything else there?
No, I'm done. I think I've made enough trouble for one night. So
I was thinking stuff, but that's okay. All right, Commissioner Wheeler, anything for the good, sir?
Absolutely. I hope that whenever the COVID crisis is over, that we may consider utilizing the universities and community colleges around here to possibly offer internships to our various students, because we have some very talented students that actually will be able to assist us on every level, from accounting to business to whatever. We have a lot of universities that are chomping at the bit to get those students out into the community to learn about public housing.
Wonderful.
Right.
Okay. Absolutely. Yeah, Commissioner, I'm gonna follow up with you on that. I think that's excellent. I think that's. And I know we're in a COVID environment, but we can take precautions if folks come in. That's if we go that route. But I like to talk to you more about that. And I'll just say that I never knew anything about public housing and the business of public housing until I started it. We're truly a business, and it's underestimated the impact of the business. So I think the more that we can reach out to folks, you got procurement, you got finance, you got HR, you got risk management, you got safety, this is a business, it's a corporation. So I think folks need to know, I've always said that, man, in all my years, you don't know until you get into this field. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Okay.
I forgot one thing.
Okay. Have at it.
Oh, me?
Yes, you got the hand up.
Oh, because I forgot one thing that's written on my pad. I just also wanted to thank the director, because I love how the staff is involved in the meeting and taking accountability and ownership of their departments. So I really love that. And they did an awesome job today, all of them. And thank you for implementing that process.
No problem.
I think it's very impactful.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I tell the board, I thank you for giving me this opportunity, but in no way do I know it all. Well, we need staff. I need them, because I have to trust, and I told them that I have to trust you guys. You guys give me feedback to make sound decisions, and that's what I give the board. So if the feedback that I get is not sound, then I can't give the board good advice. So, everybody has to be engaged and be accountable to their number and to their business. So I appreciate it, Commissioner. We will continue. I can't speak on everything. They know things that I don't. But I think I can provide the guidance and the direction to help us navigate. So no problem.
All right. Okay.
Is that my baby crying, Will?
No. I think she's asleep over there in the dog bed. But for me, it's real short. I'm gonna piggyback on that. That's one of the things I was gonna mention when I first had an opportunity to sit in a board meeting and to not get the chance to hear from the professionals that have the jobs, to hear what was going on in their departments, and everything was coming from the director. I just from sitting on other boards, I found that kind of strange, because that's, you want people that's dealing with it every day to get an opportunity to give you the report on the work they've been doing for the month. So we appreciate it. Thank you. Let's see what else. I didn't have a whole lot. I know. I wanted to ask the director if you got a chance to take a look at the internet service we were talking about with the Comcast thing over there. Working okay? Yeah. It does work. I mean, I went over there, and it's up. All right. Now we just got to figure out, how we want to, roll some stuff out. Yeah, sir. So that'll be something that we can work on, so we can put out something for everybody properly. But the idea, I want to make sure that was up and running, for the folks that's over there. So that's cool. I'm still trying to locate it physically, though. Where it is. I'm trying to locate it physically. Like, what does it look like? So that may be something I might need some help on, but I'll figure that out. If not, let me know, and that's something we can fix pretty quick. Okay. Let me see what else is there. I don't have a whole lot. I'm really happy though about where we're moving towards. Things are starting to look better. It's looking like there's a purpose to some of the work we're doing. I'm glad to have folks get an opportunity to actually put their best foot forward and actually get an opportunity to do the work that they're here to do. Hopefully here in the coming months, we're going to have a chance to really get who we want to be on paper and start moving forward with the plan. So I'm excited about it. That's really all I got, though. Things going to be moving fast here the next 2 or 3, so hopefully everybody ready for it. That's all I got. I appreciate it. Other than that, is there anything else from anybody? Well, Commissioner Stroman? Yes, ma'am. Can I say something real quick? Sure. This is directed to Mr. Cooper, all of the staff. I want to tell them we thank you. We have been working together with resident council to bring residents together to let them know that they must engage with management, and that has been going so great through maintenance, through asset managers, through housing aid, and I just want to tell everybody thank you. And as long as we keep doing that, we're gonna work it all out and go real far. Hey, that's what I want to hear. All right, yes. All right. So, stuff feeling lighter around here. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Is there anything else from anybody? Commissioner Stroman, I don't know if we asked if she had anything.
Oh, when they asked, I said nothing. I listen. Everything is going fine. If you don't hear from me, you don't need to hear from me. Everything's fine.
Hey. All right. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I'm tired. Is there any motions?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I need to ask Mr. Cooper a question. Mr. Cooper, did you want me to touch on what's going on with Melcher?
No, I don't think at this time.
I was going to say no.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
No.
Thanks for asking, though.
Yeah, so I was going to ask, too, and I'm like, you know what? No, man, we'll do that another time. But thank you, sir.
I'll follow. We'll follow up with him in correspondence.
Yes. Okay. All right. We appreciate y'all. Okay. Anything else?
I move that we adjourn at 9:38.
All right.
Second.
So they come in quick and fast. Now, there's a motion for adjournment. Has been seconded. Is there any other discussion? All right.
All in favor?
All right. We need a roll call, please.
Vice Chair Brock,
Yes.
Commissioner Stroman,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Wheeler,
Yes.
Chairman Miller.
Yes, sir.
All right. Motion to adjourn the regular meeting for April 20th has been moved and properly seconded.
All right, we 9:38. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Y'all have a fantastic evening.